Hello.
Hello.
So, first of all, I would like to remind everybody who would like to listen that in this cafe, in Kawiarna Literacka, I interviewed Piotr Lenartowicz.
Oh, in Kawiarnia Literacka.
Yes.
And
Piotr Lenartowicz is the cousin of Janusz Walusz, and Piotr Lenartowicz's father was a fighter pilot, a Polish fighter pilot in the Second World War, and then he became a prisoner in Auschwitz and in Buchenwald. And in Google, I realized that he was also a prisoner in Soldau. Yes, so in Auschwitz, he saved the life of a child born to a Jewish prisoner from either a direct rape or from not from an indirect rape, if we call it that way. But yes, he saved the life of a Jewish child, basically. Władysław Lenartowicz, as a prisoner of Auschwitz. And so there is the story that a certain group donated to Janusz Walusz, and then it was revealed that it celebrated the birthday of Hitler.
Yes,
so
it was.
Janusz Walusz ordered his daughter to return the money.
Yes, it was a very strange thing, this celebration with a birthday cake.
I know,
it was ridiculous.
Yes, it is actually a group with Cyrillic letters, but in any case, that is also something that obviously Poles would very much hate what Hitler did to Poles. Yes, but in any case, yes, and Poles help Jews also. It is also, it's very known, and it's all those Israelis that speak against Poles are unfunny clowns. But in any case, so that raises the question of what, in Russia's demands from Ukraine, there is a demand of denazification. What does it mean, actually? I would say that people should have the right to express their opinions, even if their opinions are very strange, to say the least. I wouldn't like to be ruled by, let's say, Olaf Yashinsky or Denis Kolovrat, but I like their songs very much.
One thing about Nazism or fascism is that nowadays these terms do not mean anything, because
Yes.
basically anything you don't like, you call it Nazi or fascist.
Or fascist, yes.
So it doesn't have any meaning, because it was a historical point of view. It was a historical political power, and it should be mentioned in historical context. And now it tends that anything we don't like, we call it fascist or
Yes,
Nazis.
people tend to call anything they don't like Nazis or fascist. But I mean, all right, but symbols like or names like blood and honor, like honor is the yes, it is taken from that context. But then again, people say that the symbol of the Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging, the Afrikaners resistance movement, symbolizes somehow the swastika.
Well, it is quite similar, because it's only the difference is that there are three sevens, and they do not touch one another. So
Yes.
there is a difference, but the inspiration is quite obvious.
Well, all right. But obviously the Afrikaner resistance movement, the Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging, is not a Nazi movement. It is a movement of people with legitimate demands.
Yes, but the demand of a separation of
Yes.
races and to a certain extent not just separation but white supremacy. So it's not very nice, although it's not Nazist,
Yes.
but it's not a good thing.
Yes, but all right, but from a historical perspective, yes. From an historical perspective, it's not as not nice as one would say, one would think, but all right. But in any case, yes. In any case, yes, I would like to interview Janusz Walusz, of course, and I would like to interview Grzegorz Braun, and to congratulate him for what he did for Janusz Walusz.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. And I would also like to interview, and I mean, unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances, now, in some way, fortunately, I think I am allowed, according to the Israeli law, to interview Bashar Assad, the former president of Syria. And I would very much like to interview him.
That would be quite difficult to find
now,
him.
I have
He is
to go to Russia
somewhere in
and-
Russia, and even one doesn't know where,
Yes.
because he is sort of hiding. He is not
Yes.
exposing himself publicly.
Yes.
So it will be difficult, but with Walusz or Brown, it is more feasible, and it is possible. Obviously, they have to agree for the interview. They have to have time and so on, but it's feasible.
Yes.
It's not impossible, I would say.
And indeed, what happens today in Syria with all the massacres of Alawite people or of other minorities or the majority Sunnis who don't follow the strict Islamic rules. It's terrible, and I made a video clip using the Google Translator to Polish about it, and Facebook just blocked that clip, saying it encourages violence because it shows ISIS.
But the problem is that in Facebook and in YouTube too,
Yes.
there are some algorithms.
Yes,
And these algorithms just hear some words, and if they have some words connected with violence,
Yes.
they wouldn't accept that, and then you can write a letter to them, and then they can unblock it if you convince them that it was not promoting violence but just talking about violence.
Yes. In
But
this case,
first they
it
block,
is
and
a
then
picture.
you have to explain that you do not. You are just talking, and even some names like the name of a German leader you mentioned at the beginning, during the Second World War. It's also here. It's also by algorithm, not like by the algorithm. And some people
Yes.
say an Austrian painter, or a
An
painter
Austrian-
from Vienna, or
Yes.
or some a man with a mustache, and so on.
Yes, I mean,
So that's
yes,
and,
a
in-
person who did some art and afterwards he did some destruction of the world. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
they try to say in descriptive way, and also
Yes.
in the YouTube, all the true crime stories are told in the way that some words are changed. For example, instead of kill is deprive someone of life or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes. In any case, back to the subject of different music bands. I mean, yes, I mean, the band of Denis Gerasimov is called Kolovrat, and Kolovrat was also a Slavic noble family. And Olaf Yashinsky's music band was called Honor, I think, or maybe Blood and Honor. And together they formed the band Kamajedžica. And there is also a music band called, in English it would be called Madness. Obwend.
Obwend.
Tak. Yes. And there is also a music band called Conquista
Conquista, yes.
88.
Yes, yes.
So
So Conquest 88.
88 is Heil.
Yeah, it's
that
because the
person.
letters of the alphabet are.
Yes, but then
Yes.
it is. But then I always thought, I mean, that it is actually also Heil, the one that Valush killed. I mean, and there was a television program in Britain, Hal Hani, I'm home. But
Okay.
that is Honey. Yes, but that is also, I thought of making some film, but I don't know what exactly the story would be of the other Honey, yes, of how the other Honey. Yes, I mean
With
Hani.
N-I. Okay.
But in any case, so in Israel, people has crazy ideas. They would like to create a museum instead of Auschwitz or instead of Treblinka. I mean, why not? What is the problem to just go to take a flight to Poland and to visit Auschwitz? I don't know. People say it is like going back to the diaspora.
And what about this museum? I don't know the story about another museum.
No, I mean, there are some extremists in Israel who would like to make such museums of their own.
But in Israel, they can
Yes.
make any museum.
Yes, I know, but obviously, I mean, if they make a museum of Auschwitz, it can't compete with the real thing.
Authentic, obviously. But I think in the United States there is a museum of
Of
Holocaust.
the Holocaust, yes.
So it's
yes, but then they don't tell the truth about the numbers of the victims of the non-Jews. I mean, they emphasize the Jews.
Yes, they emphasize the Jews, and the impression is
yes.
that only Jews were the victims, and even sometimes happened that someone said, "My grandfather was in Auschwitz," and someone asked this man who said that, "Oh, I didn't know you were Jewish."
Ah, yes.
And actually he wasn't Jewish, but,
Yes,
Polish people were also, and the many
Exactly.
nationalities, 27 nationalities or so. So
Yes,
it was...
exactly. I mean, in the first transport to Auschwitz, the first transport of regular prisoners from Tarnów to Auschwitz, there were 728 prisoners transported there, and out of them there were maybe 21 Jews.
And the first prisoners were also German criminals for
Yes.
capo
Before
functions.
that, yes, there were couples from Sachsenhausen.
Yes, and generally in Germany, first concentration camp was Dachau, and it
Dachau,
was meant
yes.
to be for criminals.
Yes.
It was before the Second World War,
Yes.
and it was just for criminals or for so-called antisocial elements, and this was quite a wide term, quite
Yes,
a broad
they
term, so
include,
anyone could be antisocial.
Yes, they include homosexuals. I mean, homosexuals are not necessarily antisocial. But,
Yes, but there were
unfortunately
some
not
categories.
necessarily not. Some, I mean, a very tiny portion, maybe. Yes.
Okay, we have been talking for 18 minutes, and anything else you want to add?
Yes, I would like to mention, mainly for educational reasons, I made a movie called Dracula's Rebirth to the Sleeping Beauty. It was at the time that there were all those color revolutions. So for education purposes, but also it is also interesting, I think, and it is nice to mention to anybody who is interested some aspects of history that people don't talk about. People talk about all kinds of the great leaders, such as supposedly as Mandela, as Hani, At the same time, they talk about Dracula, let's say, as a kind of a devil. It is not true. It's actually the opposite. That is why I wrote a song in which I mention that I don't know who killed more people, Dracula or Mandela, or let's say I don't know who killed more people, Željko Arkan Rajnatović, the founder of the Serbian Volunteer Guard, or Chris Hani. I don't know who killed more people.
Actually, Chris Hani, yes, he personally killed some people.
Yes.
It's very likely because he was in this Unconto Wesizwe, which was
Yes.
like armed wing of ANC. But Mandela did not kill anyone personally, but
yes.
he refused to ask for stopping violence.
Yes.
Because that was the condition of his release, was that he should announce that he orders to stop violence against civilians, and he said that he was a prisoner, so he could not say anything. So it was, he didn't say, no, I want violence, but he didn't say that he would ask anyone to stop violence.
Yes. And he obviously orchestrated those attacks from prison.
Yes, it is possible.
Possible and probable, yes.
He didn't mention that in biography, but in his biography he mentioned that he was talking with some, because his visits to him were monitored by the guards, so they had special language. For example, for ANC it was church and it was congregation, and there were some words which meant different things they actually meant. So the guards did not realize what they were talking about.
Yes. Yes, so that way I also made, together with John Riggs and other people, the film The Good, the Bad and Mrs. Honey.
And
I mean, it's also inspired by what is written in the book, the rabbinical book called Sefer Torat HaMelech, that what happens, what do you do when Ham tries to kill Shem and uses Yefet as a human shield. So it was inspired also by that. I mean, the actual story of this movie, that Ham is Mrs. Hani and Shem is Mrs. Svetlana Rajnatović, and Yefet is Mrs. Gingic. But it is like mainly the main stars of the movie is Mrs. Svetlana Rajnatović and Mrs. Hani.
And tell me about your interest in Dracula. Where does it come from?
I've many times heard about Dracula, and I actually was curious who he actually was. But also, I once had a fiance from Romania, and my grandmother, and followed by my mother and myself, used to call her the Sleeping Beauty, and she had a son who was very much uneducated. Later I realized that it is I have to apologize to the real Dracula about making such a comparison, but yes, and that is also.
Okay, so we are coming to the end to this interview,
Yes.
and thank you very much.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you for your attention to everybody.